Can I start now, then? This method of torture is very simple. I'll nail one of these into the joint on the end of your left pinky finger. Then I'll nail one in order until I get to your thumb, and then I'll go back to your pinky and nail one into the joint in the middle, to the knuckles. Ugh. And so on until I hammer 15 nails into your left hand. And when that's all over, I'll do your right hand next. After that, if you're still conscious, I'll tell you. There's a lot of nerves bundled in your fingertips, so it hurts far more than you could imagine. No shit. Some people apparently pass out before you finish hammering 30 nails into their hands, so Mion pressed the tip of the nail to my left pinky finger. My wrist, my arms, all my joints on my finger were strapped in so tightly it hurt, and I couldn't even twitch. I didn't hesitate at all when I was torturing others. Why do I hesitate now? This will satisfy your demon, Mion. If it will state the demon, then do to me what you will. Are you serious? Compared to how much I hurt Mion, this is nothing, right? Do as much as you want. In exchange, promise me two things. Mion was silent. She did, however, wait for me to speak. After you're satisfied with causing me pain, forgive Shion. She's been punished enough to make up for her crime of sneaking into the storehouse, hasn't she? You, after all this, you still worry about Shion more than yourself. The other thing is that you had your fill, you disappear. Give that body back to Mion. That's all. You know you're not even concerned possibly begging for your life or anything. Can I ask you to promise three things instead of two? The third is to leave me alive. Not happening. You said two in the beginning, didn't you? So you can't have any more. That's a shame. Such an abnormal situation, me and I laughed quietly together as if sharing in a stupid joke. I really won't keep these promises, understand? I'm a demon after all. Guess there's nothing I can do then. I recalled tightening my hands to fist when enduring the pain in the dentist's office. Right now, though, they were open all the way to my fingertips, so I couldn't even grip them. So instead, I tightened my toes. Okay, do it. I prepared myself already, so do it. You're waiting like this to hammer the nails in is scarier. It's going to diminish my readiness after all. Mion put down the hammer and gently stroked my cheek. K-chan, I'll agree with just the third thing, okay? Huh? My third wish, to save me, she'll agree to it. Your first wish to save Shion, that's long done for. The demon will kill her. It's already been decided, so I can't stop it. So give up on that. Her delicate finger slid from my cheek to my chin. As for your second wish, to give this body back to Mion, that won't happen either. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, it will be just a body. Because the Oni has taken it over. That isn't true. Mion is Mion. Don't say such sad things like that she won't ever come back. Can you hear it? That sound. Mion gently closed her ears and listened. I definitely heard it as well. Slam. Slam. It was a dull noise that repeated at fixed intervals. A low noise accompanied by vibrations. A lot of people were ramming the iron doors to this underground ritual storehouse. You're late, so Rena probably called Oishi. That spaced out girl being so quick thinking was the only thing I didn't anticipate. I'll agree with you there. Mion grinned like she'd been outwitted but took something that looked like an electric razor out of her pocket. When she pressed the switch, pale blue sparks flew out like a snapping noise. You've probably never seen one before, right? It's a taser, stun gun. It's a real stun gun. It's illegal and its output has been increased quite a bit. Was that what you hit me with before? That's not a toy children should play with, you know. You're right. She seemed to want to use a stun gun on me. Unable to move, I felt her press the cold lumps of metal to my neck. Slam! I heard a roar as though they'd broken down the first large door. The halls were a bit complex, but aside from the door to this very torture chamber, there was nothing in their way. I won't kill you, but I'll have you go to sleep for a bit, Kei-chan. Oishi will be here soon. It'll only hurt a bit. Zap! From the same shock as before. Gritting my teeth wasn't going to help much, but I clenched them tightly anyway. However, just as she did when she was about to hammer the nails, she hesitated a little. I cracked open my tightly closed eyelids. I'm sorry for disgracing Mion. I made a promise before coming in here. Whatever happens, the Mion inside my heart won't change. Look, forget about that. If you ever see me after today, don't come near me. By then, it will be the demon who inherited my corpse. What are you talking about? Just as I tried to say that, a much stronger light than before shined, and like a television being switched off, my consciousness went black. Well, yeah, going right to the neck. You're going to. Come on, finish the chapter. There we go. That is the end. June 1983. String disappearance occurred in Himazawa village. The suspect is Mion Sonozaki. She is suspected of having kidnapped 5 Himazawa residents between June 19th and June 21st. Oryo Sonozaki, Shion Sonozaki, Kimiyoshi, Rika Fude, Sakata Hojo imprisoned them and killed them. Preliminary investigation of the incident were delayed at the time during the instant evidence, but were resolved. On the morning of the 23rd, police a vehicle patrolling Sonozaki heard screams from inside and rushed in as emergency met. They secured the suspect's missing younger sister, Shion Sonozaki, and her 2 missing classmates, Keiichi Mabara and Rena Rigu. The suspect fled the scene. Deep in the detached basement on the Sonozaki property, which is believed to have been used to kill those who disappeared, we discovered hair, flakes, skin, blood of 4 missing others: Oreo Sonozaki, Kimiyoshi, Rika, and Sakato. We concluded that the missing persons tortured, however, their remains were still not found. At one of her imprisoned classmates' advice, we continued searching the attached basement of Sonozaki facilities, which is where they were imprisoned. However, they were not located at all. In addition, investigating on her as to her participation in serial freak incidents, there was no evidence that Mion Sonozaki was involved in anything else besides that part. It is still unclear as the motive behind the incidents as for those in the Sonozaki family. The opinion of the local officers acknowledged that about the region of many lynchings, internal form of punishing. It is clear that these incidents are practically rooted in this region, and of course, has ordered a cautious investigation. Anticipate gaining valuable clues from the missing persons believed to have been imprisoned, the suspect's younger sister. But her mind was stricken by the grave after effects of the incident, and she has not been in a state of mind to properly answer any questions about what she knows. Psychiatrist is saying that she's in shock. Only a few days passed since that time. After that, I was rescued by Oishi and his subordinates whom Rena had called in. Aside from my entirely blank state of mind, I had no external injuries. The most I had was a small burn mark from where the stun gun hit me. As I was having a check up at the hospital, Oishi asked me all sorts of things, but I don't really remember what he asked or how I answered him. From what I heard, surprisingly, Mion still hadn't been captured. There were apparently a great many hallways and smaller rooms extending out from the depths of the prison. It wouldn't be strange if she fled to one of those and hid herself. The one fortunate aspect amidst all the misfortune was that Shion had been safely secured by the police. When I last saw Mion, she seemed like she was going to take me with her and then kill me. She probably didn't have enough time to, though, since Oishi came running in faster than she predicted. That was the only really fortunate thing to have happened. Of course, the rescued Shion, despite having no external wounds, now had a big, deep wound in her heart. She was in a severe state of confusion when they rescued her, and apparently she bit the police officers trying to resist. From what he heard, she was seeing Mion and everyone she saw. Hated not only the hospital, but even her own home. and had shut herself up somewhere in Shishibone, hiding her location. Additionally, in fear that Mion would come to her, she was moving from place to place every day, and even her parents weren't sure where she actually was. Wherever she was living, even now, Shion was spending her days in fear of Mion's shadow. Police were investigating the Shonozaki underground storeroom at this moment, since they couldn't find the remains of the other sacrifices. Hadn't Mion thrown the corpses into a well? I had a feeling I'd said that to him. That meant a hidden tunnel vertical like a well was somewhere in those underground passages. The secret underground without any maps or architectural drawings, which had swallowed up the remains of Rika, Sakato, and everyone else, was still unwillingly to speak the truth. I was brought back to that basement again, too, for an on the site inspection or something, but I didn't remember being of any help. I never wanted to go back there again. A few days afterwards, Sonozaki's living in Okinomiya, in other words, Mion and Shion's parents, the big name Yakuza, would come to our house to apologize, bringing many of their followers with them. However much my parents refused it, they piled up many 100,000 yen bills, calling it consolation money every day. The amount of money grew each day, and after it had passed 2 million yen, they were then given an envelope containing a letter. I don't know what was written in the letter. My parents talked about it by themselves for 2 whole nights and decided to move away. I see. You're moving, huh? When? At the end of next month. I won't even have been in Himazawa for half a year. I'll be lonely. I'm the only one left. Rena smiled sadly. If I had just said yeah, I thought it would make her even more lonely, so I changed the subject. Here's something to think about. That's how I botched it. Mion hadn't actually fled, but had been demoned away in the truest sense of the term. Where she went after she disappeared, that we didn't know. What that where what was there where she had disappeared to. I hoped it was a hobby shop dealing in imports, the kind Mion liked. In that place, she would definitely be free from the burdensome fetters of her family, and live not as Mion Sonozaki, but as just Mion, and enjoy herself. Maybe she's already met up with Sakato and Rika. They must also have been waiting for the day Rena and I would join them, spending all their time doing club activities as lively as they always were. When I told Renette, she smiled and nodded to me. The incidents of the Sonozaki family had been trying to hide so hard to hide, too, were exposed to the magazines in this single tiny scene. The serial incidents in recent years were all pulled up like a long vine in the ground one by one, and for many days news on it was brought up on talk and variety shows. The shows, which were comedic and silly, never once tried to touch upon the grim, heavy history that Mion had been bearing. It made me mad to see them bring this stuff up and jest, but there was nothing I could do about it now. How big an impression would these short few weeks I spent in Himazawa have on my life? During these few weeks, I met my best friends and had the best experiences of my life. I would probably never forget it for as long as I lived. As for the distorted image of Mion that the Mia created, after the masses got tired of treating her like a plaything, they would bottle her up, throw her in the trash, and then she would fade from their memories. As somebody, as one of the few people who knew the real Mion, I must always make sure I remember her. Beyond any doubt, that will surely become my offering to her. The sky reached up far, so far up and towering cumulus this ugh, cumulus clouds floated through it. The real summer was just before our eyes. Even now, whenever 10 p.m. comes around, I would expect a phone call from Shion or Mion rather. Now that everything's over, of course, she would never call me. But it was precisely because she wouldn't call me that I was scared of who would call me this time. Plus, Mion still hadn't been caught. I couldn't say for sure that everything was completely over. On the other side of that fear, though, were my prayers that Mion was safe. When I thought about that, I was able to sleep even with such terrifying thoughts. The lights were off. Before her attacking, when the lights were off, was something that scared me. However, that feeling changed to regret within 2 days. The moonlight flittering through the gap in the curtain shone onto the desk and illuminated a doll. That's right, the doll that I should have given to me on that day. She said it was important import from England or something, and it was all the rage, didn't she? From what Shion said, the most popular among them was the one wearing the fluffy dress. After being released from the incident, the first place I was to the was the to went to was that toy store. Everything was apparently sold out on the store because the things on the storefront displays. I was refused once when they said they wouldn't sell the display products, but when they realized I was Survivor A from that instant, they immediately consented. Of course, even if I bought it, I might never have the chance to give it to her again. Even knowing that, I waited for the opportunity to give it to her. I waited for the opportunity with it on the desk so I could give it to her anytime. Plunk. There was a weird noise. It was a noise that I wasn't used to hearing. It was too big to be a raindrop, and it was completely different from the sound lost bugs made when they ran into fluorescent lights. Figured I must have misheard and nestled back into my futon. Plunk. Noise happened again. I wasn't hearing things. I definitely heard it. Where was it coming from? I got up and turned on the light. If there was a second, there would be a third. From where, though? I listened carefully. Plunk. The window. Some sort of pebble was colliding with my window. When I realized they weren't being blown there by the wind, but rather thrown by a person, I gave a start. I looked at the clock. It was 2 a.m. who would be who would it be at a time like this? I quickly peeked out front through the gap in the curtains. In the light at the gate, desperate despite being so late, I saw someone. They picked up a piece of gravel and threw it at this window. It hit the window and made a plonking noise. Who was it? I, I caught my breath in surprise. If my eyes weren't deceiving, that person was Mion. I threw open the window and looked at the figure again. My eyes certainly weren't deceiving me. It was Mion. It was Mion. She was alive. Mion pressed her index finger to her lips and made a shh motion so I wouldn't shout. She had Well, I was nearly about to cry out. Mion was in very delicate position right now. Even if it was the middle of the night, I shouldn't call out her name. I waved to her, gesturing that I'll be right over, flung on my coat, topped my pajamas, and flew out the door. Big mistake. I quickly hit the brakes just before going down the stairs. Though happiness was sprouting within me, I had a sad feeling this would be our final pairing. So I went back to my room again and grabbed the doll. If there was a God, I don't think I would ever thank him as much as today. Even it would be the last time we ever saw each other. I was so grateful for this one chance to give her to her. I slipped into my sandals, unlocked the door, unhooked the chain, and leaped out of the house. Mion, it's been a while. How are you? Been doing all right. It was like how we used to meet every morning. Mion waved to me and responded like she always did. It was doubtlessly Mion. It was a real Mion. Are you alright hanging around this place? I really shouldn't be. She certainly wasn't acting like she knew the police were following her. It was almost like she was a patient who had gotten tired of staying in the hospital and had snuck out. Her speech was relaxed enough to make me think that, and I couldn't help but be surprised. The relaxation, I thought, was more like Mion, and I was happy for it. Anyway, what's wrong? What did you need at this hour? I wanted to talk to you one last time. That was when I noticed them. On Mion's forehead were droplets of sweat. Her expression, too, which I had thought had been a satisfied smile, was, upon close inspection, trembling slightly, and I realized she was forcing it. Well, I, I can't stay for any longer. The pain was beginning to enter her words as well, as if just smiling was a feat for her. Are you alright? Are you not feeling well? I'm I tried so hard until now, but I can tell I'm done. This is my limit. They're about to come up behind me, take me away. Mion's smile crumbled and started to stiffen. Did she push herself so much to come all this way to me? Her laughter cut off and changed to rough breathing. I reached out to rub her back, but she knocked me away. Are you okay? Don't force yourself. Oh, that's right. I had something to give to you, Mion. This doll. I had wanted to do this one last thing because I knew how little time you had left. But this last thing is. Shit. My stomach. It's burning. No shit, you just got stabbed. Mia took a meat cleaver like knife and stabbed me and pushed it in tight and took it and twisted it. Mia, what? It hurts. And there's the maniacal laughter. I made it. I made it. I, ca- I cowered on the ground. My stomach was so hot it was almost spewing fire. Mion watched it and then took a step back and crackled. I've done it. I've done it all. That's everyone I wanted to kill. The last words Mion left me with that day came back to me. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, a body is all it will be. By then, the demon will have taken it over. The demon. The demon. The demon. Me. Me. Uh, and that's it. This can't. I thought we had finally been able to meet. This can't. Mion. The pool of blood of my own design is the doll I brought for Mion. Dyed in red. So red. Mion. The good fortune of having been allowed to meet Mion once more, and the misfortune of that meeting being torn apart before my eyes. Should I be grateful or curse it? My emotions were neither of those, as my conscience sunk deep into the black swamp. The doll I brought for Mion, the blood, had ruined it. No matter how I scrubbed, it had needlessly been ruined. Ruined. The sad moon was so white, it looked frozen. I don't know why it had to do that so slow. A violent incident occurred in Himazawa Prefecture, blah blah. The victim was Keiichi Maru, also a victim of his previous string of disappearances. Around 2 a.m., he was stabbed in the stomach with a bladed object by the subject of the last case and was gravely wounded. He was discovered when his parents woke up and was then transported to the clinic. He escaped death. The criminal fled the scene, so Keiichi still is alive. Same day, approximately the same time, a fall accident occurred in Kimishiki apartment complex in Shishibone. The victim was Shion Shinozaki, also a victim of the previous string of disappearance. Late the same night, I was her having a fight with someone and informed the manager. The manager used the master key to enter her room and discovered that the victim had fallen from her 8th floor balcony to her death. The room had been torn apart and appeared to show traces of a fight. One neighbor has frequently visited Sonozaki for a long time and testified that he heard what sounded like two sisters having a fight, trading insults back and forth. We believe this is related to the injury case that occurred the same day in Himazawa. Okay. In fact, straight down into the foliage of the parking strip. Her neck broke and she died immediately. So Shion is dead. Her clothing was sheathed in and markings that would imply a scuffle. We also believe, however, that it could have been an insanity-induced suicide attempt based on the particular mental state of the victim after the incident. So they don't know if it's a suicide or homicide. So Keiichi lived this one. Oh, come on, just finish this. Only for 5 minutes, understand? Please try not to excite. Yes, yes, I'll be careful. Click. The door opened as I expected. Oishi came in. Hello, hello, my bar-son. It's been a while, hasn't it? Tell me, how you been since then? The doctor says my post-operative recovery seems to be going smoothly, but I think I got worse when I saw your face. You wooed me. As always, she gave a laugh that smelled of sweat. He handed Mom a bag of assorted candies he must have purchased from the souvenir corner on the first floor of the hospital. Excuse me, Miss Mbar. Would it be possible for me to talk to KHU for just a few moments? Mom clearly wasn't pleased at the thought of a police officer talking to her son without her there. However, I insisted. Mom, sorry, just for a little while. Just 5 minutes, okay? Though grudgingly, Mom left the room. When she closed the door, Oshi grinned widely and looked around the room. A room to yourself, how high class. My old lady always gets a shared room, you know. It's quite lively, however. Seems like you have a higher rank if you have a much worse disease in places like that. The sicker you are, the prouder you are, or maybe the more arrogant. Oh shit, we only have 5 minutes. I would like it if those were the last 5 minutes we ever saw each other. I don't have any connection to Himazawa anymore, and this isn't in Himazawa anymore either. Yes, because there aren't any general hospitals in Okinomiya. Mind if I take a seat? Down we go. This is a large university hospital in Shishiban City. It was splendid. It is a splendid urban, entirely different from the likes of Himazawa and Okinomiya. It's hard to believe Himazawa was part of the same city. When does it look like you'll get transferred? Don't know. I'm ready to go whenever, though. Our moving plans were delayed a little because of my serious injury. My parents had already left the house in Himazawa, though, and were living in our new one. They plan to have me transfer hospitals to be closer to the house once I recovered enough to be taken there. Please don't come to where I'm transferring. I really will get worse then. Man, you really do hate me. It must just be my job, or but that stings. That's why I brought you all kinds of lovely souvenirs and told me you didn't need to bring an assortment of cookies like for that. Well, you see, there aren't actually cookies in there. Look. Oh, she pulled open a can of cookies and ow, 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 stretching my scar. I didn't know what you were into, my bro, so I brought all kinds of things. See, all sorts of cute looking ones, from westerns to comic strips. Lately, they've had a sort of H manga aimed at girls too. Ah! Don't bring porn in here! Take them away and go home. Ow! Thought for sure a healthy young person like you would be feeling a little needy being cooped up in a place like this for so long. Ow! You stay here too long, the only fetish you'll end up with is a nurse one, you know. There are plenty of other beautiful things in the world besides nurses, after all. Don't decide what to major in now. When keep your opinions open. You need to be more all-round type of person. Oh wow! I gave Oshi a vulgar laughter, a pained grin. Somehow or other, I understood. The fact that Oshi was bringing it up like this meant that he must have had something important to talk about. The incident with Shion really was unfortunate. Hmm? The night I was stabbed by Mion, Shion fell from a balcony and died. They say the police were investigating all possibility of accident suicide, but it could only have been Mion's doing. Mion found out where Shion was hiding and pushed her down to her death. Nothing else was conceivable. It couldn't have been an accident. It was Mion. It had to be. The criminology guys are saying that it had to be a suicide, but I'm on the same opinion as you, Mbar. She pushed Shion and also stabbed you. In one night. Has Mion still not been found? Oh, that's right. That's why I came to tell you today. Yes, we actually did find her. What? Ow. Learning that felt rather strange to me. I was practically relieved that the incidents were truly over, and I was partially sorry for my best friend having been finally caught. I felt many other things too. My heart was a maze of emotions. That's not all. In the Sonozaki House catacombs, we found a hidden well. Just as you said, Mabara, we found the remains of all those who disappeared in the bottom. I see. A silver hope was that possibility I believed in, that Rika and Sakuto were alive, from the fact their remains hadn't been found, gone. It was incredibly well hidden in those catacombs. I mean, it was in a blind spot of another blind spot. It was a vertical tunnel dig out like a well. There was a ladder set up there, and then we went all the way down to another tunnel built there going through it. When we followed it a few hundred meters, we found ourselves at the mouth of an old, unused well in the mountains. I wonder if it was a secret escape route a previous Sonozaki family leader built. It probably was. Maybe it was made in the Meiji era. Still, I'm impressed they built something like that. So everyone's remains were at the bottom. Yes, even deeper down than the escape path, there was a pool of coal tar. They were casually thrown into there. They had fallen from a fairly high spot, so the remains were totally buried in it. It took a lot of time and effort to pull their bodies up. Did you find them all? I hope that they at least wouldn't find Rika or Sakato. That's what I wished for when I asked, but my shallow hope was crushed in a blink of an eye. Yes, all of them. In fact, we also found human bones that we think are over a decade old. We think there are at least 3 people. I suppose this is the dark side of humanity's history. I wonder how many people's bones we'll find when we sucked out all the mud. It's a scary thought. The weight has been pushed down on Mion's shoulders the whole time. Mion. We're currently identified people who disappeared from Shishbone decades ago. People are talking about how this opportunity might let us resolve the disappearing persons' cases that have been abandoned. After a deep silence, she breathed a heavy sigh. Oh, she went for a cigarette to pass the time, but realized this is a non-smoking area, so he gave up and put them back in his shirt pocket. Alright, this is a bit of a detour. But you know Rika Fude, right? Of course, she's my friend. Did she ever tell you anything about along the lines of her regularly taking insulin injections for diabetes? What? Rika has diabetes. I didn't know what he was talking about. I actually found it in her skirt pocket, a syringe. It was destroyed though, so we couldn't identify the medicine. Leave another question for us. It was a bit out of place, so I got interested. You really don't know anything. I didn't know anything about Rika carrying syringes around with her. The Sonozaki family cooperates, the Yakuza people. Anyway, there's rumors that they deal in psychostimulants. I was thinking that might have something to do with it too. Are you trying to tell me that Rika is a drug addict? No, not at all. That's isn't what I'm saying. It just seems strange how you look at it that she would bring a syringe with her on her way to get soy sauce. I have an idea what any of this means. My eyes are spinning. I feel sick. Rick was going to kill me on. Are you alright? Should I call a nurse? I'm fine. Please continue. Well, this is all I have to say about the syringe. It was the only thing that personally struck me as interesting. Rika. Rika was sort of like the village mascot after all. It looks like the village is in uproar right now between the older blind believers and the Sonozaki family who killed her. The 3 families' effective control over the village is basically in shambles too. Someone came up to them with talk of a dam again. With this sort of timing, the entire village would be abandoned for sure this time. I'm not related to Himazawa anymore. I actually was. I just said it because the thought about Himazawa being abandoned was unpleasant and I wanted to end the conversation quickly. There was a knock at the door. It opened slightly in my mind as we were still talking. Whoops, we went off topic, didn't we? What a pickle. I looked at the clock. 5 minutes were long past. He told my mom there was something he really wanted to ask, and if she could wait a little bit longer. Is that so? Keep it short, okay? There wasn't any getting around the fact that she was thinking about what a police officer could be talking to her son about. Maybe we should choose another day for this. Oishi, Mion, how is she right now? I want to just hear that answer and just then get rid of him. Before I could before I tell you that, I need one thing from you. I just need you to answer something in all honesty. What is it? I want you to take your answer seriously. Got it? If you say anything indiscreet, it could be viewed as obstruction of investigation, and you could be prosecuted. Always, she kept threatening me until the end. What the hell did he want? Mabara, who do you think the criminal was who pushed Shion from the balcony? There's no way it could be anyone but Mion, is there? Then who was the one who stabbed you? Please don't make me say it again. It was Mion. Mion Sonozaki. Oishi smiled bitterly, then dabbed his forehead with the handkerchief to wipe his sweat. He should have expected the answer, but and yet it looked as though he wasn't satisfied with it. She pushed Shion and stabbed me. Didn't you just admit it yourself that Mion was the criminal? The evidence we have that Mion killed Shion is based on testimony with the man living next door. This neighbor is actually a member of the organized crime group. In other words, he was Shion's bodyguard. Seemed he was a veteran leader in that vein and was like a parent to the Sonozaki sisters growing up. That man said this: the noise he heard from next door was just like the sound of a fight between the sisters that he was used to hearing when they still lived together. And then, and no, there was no doubt about it. He said he heard Mion and Shion insulting each other and heard them struggling. First, though, he thought it was a hallucination she was having brought on by her dementia. You see, he thought that because that sort of ruckus had been occurring every night, however, that night had been longer than the rest, and he claimed that he went to her room to give her a sedative. The noise died down while he got the manager to give him the key. Here he decided to at least check on her, and after she wasn't answering his calls, they took the plunge and unlocked the door. Then they saw the room was a mess. Since Shion had been pushed over the balcony, they decided to give it that it had to have been Mion, and that's how it happened. In other words, he only heard from the other side of the wall. Plus, because the apartment complex is connected to the organization, it doesn't have many residents. So they were the only ones who heard it happening. To retaliate, there was only one person who witnessed Mion Sonozaki. Even if he didn't see her, that isn't it obvious Mion's doing? Now settle down. This is what I'm saying. It means you were the only one who saw Mion Sonozaki for sure. Oh, great. After all, Shion, the other witness, is no longer alive. What are you trying to say? At that point, Oishi paused. The fact that there was that fact that this was no smoking completely slipped his mind. He took out his pack of cigarettes again. Clink! He lit one with his lighter and exhaled a long stream of tobacco smoke. Were you really stabbed by Shion Sonozaki? Yes. There's no doubt about it. The smoke Oishi breathed out floated away like a thundercloud swept away by the wind. Oishi, you can't smoke in here. The nurses will get mad. Actually, we found Mion Sonozaki at the bottom of the well, too. What? She fell to her death. We believe that she was trying to escape to that hidden west passage in the well. Her foot slipped while climbing down the ladder. She fell to the bottom, broke her neck, and died. Yes, the same way as Shion. She broke her neck. Well, what? After you passed out that day, Mion Sonozaki tried to escape using the hidden well, but her foot slipped and she died. As if beckoned by the corpses of the other sacrifices, she dropped down there. But that doesn't make any sense, does it? The opposite came to the conclusion that she definitely died on that day. She didn't go down there after attacking you and Shion. She was already dead by then. My jaw was on the floor. There was absolutely no way that could be. Mion was the one that stabbed me. It had to have been her. There wouldn't have been anyone else to do it. Then, then, who attacked Shion and me? Who was it? The one who attacked you was someone who was Mion Sonozaki, but yet not Mion Sonozaki. My mind had become a complete mess, and I was starting to lose my ability to think straight. Do you remember how Mio Takano died? Huh? Takano? Yes. I think I heard that she was burned to death in some distant mountains. Well, learning that she was burned after being strangled to death. The Gufu station did the autopsy. It's a little bit strange. The results of the preliminary autopsy said that she had been dead for at least 24 hours. Since that was contradictory, in their panic, they seem to have revised it to say she died earlier that day. Despite me being an absolute wreck over what was going on with Mion, he was telling me that there was even more on top of that. I didn't understand the complex things the way she was telling me. The results saying that she's been dead for 24 hours was our own old criminologist says. It's pretty damn reliable. So then, what would that mean? I asked this question over and over because on the night of Wanashi, you mean you were with me on Takano, weren't you? I was. You also met her on the day before while setting up the festival, right? I mean, I ran into her too. Yes, I was with her then. If she had been dead for 24 hours, then that would mean she was already dead the day before the festival. Huh? That can't be. She was alive during the festival preparations. However, when you all slipped into the ritual storehouse, Takano was already dead. The origin of all that happened. The beginning of everything. Our intrusion in the ritual storehouse, which I had come to regret countless times. The one who tempted me, Takano. When she invited us to the storm, she was already no longer in this world. There are too many dead people walking around in this instant. An incident caused by a dead person and ended by a dead person. Also, apparently, they're under pressure to revise the time of Mia Sonozaki's death not to the day of the incident, but right after she stabbed you. Probably pressure from the outside to get this incident wrapped up already. So I appreciate it if you didn't say a word about this to anyone. Oishi grabbed his jacket that was hanging on the chair and put out his cigarette with the bottom of his foot and started pretending to wave away the smoke floating around. I've stayed too long. I've had come here thinking I could at least end this incident as it applied to you, but looks like it gets even more baffling instead. Absentmindedly, he walked toward the door, looking at me, unable to speak out of the corner of his eyes. If it so happens that something comes up you want to talk about in the future, call me anytime. My business card is in those souvenirs from before. When that time comes, I'll pay you a visit with some wonderful souvenirs again. Or she seemed to think I was still hiding something. That I, after all this, would be hiding something. I'm the one thing that's being hidden from. I'm the one who wants to know. Then let us meet again one day. Take care of yourself. Slam. I listened to the tap, tap, tap of Oishi walking down the hallway. Still couldn't return to my from my state of bewilderment. He wanted to end this incident as it implied to me. Was it over? Nothing was over. The incident was still continuing. Please say we're done. Ah, shit. Yep. We're at the end now. Then, slip. An arm covered in fresh blood came out from underneath the bed. I wasn't that surprised. This was an illusion I was seeing, seized with fear. Kei-chan, I told you, remember? I heard a guttural voice coming from under the bed. I still recognized it as Mion's. What, Mion? What did you tell me? I warned you on that day. After today, if you see me, it will be the demon that has possessed my body. You did. You said that, didn't you? Sorry, guess I wasn't careful enough. That's why I got stabbed. Possibly wounds sustained when she fell from the ladder. Many of her fingernails were broken and torn. Her arm slowly felt belt on top of the bed, searching for mine. Hey, Mion? I well, thought of a good joke. Want to hear it? The Mion under bed didn't answer. Let's say that I died here today, but tomorrow I'll still be here living a normal life. So when Oshi learned about it afterwards, the time of death wouldn't make sense once again. He would make a huge deal about how someone who should have died was alive, and he totally lose his mind. Takano, then Mion, and then me third. So funny, right? Makes you laugh, doesn't it? Kei-chan, laugh. Or is it not that funny? Mion's bloodstained hand groped around and found my wrist. Though her fingernails were torn, she gripped it hard, as if scratching me. Ow! Go easy. Ow, it hurts. Kei-chan, I've come for you. I tried to shake my wrist loose, but the strength she held it with was unbelievable, and I couldn't. She was only gripping one wrist, and yet my whole body wouldn't move. I couldn't even twitch. My fingers were spread apart, and I couldn't make a fist either. And that fact that I couldn't make a fist reminded me of the restraining table. I felt a crooked nail press against my left pinky fingertip. Mion's forehead was split open. Well, with a face covered in blood, she smiled and got right up in front of my nose. Nothing was over. Nothing was over. This incident was far from being over. It was still going on. It was still happening. Someone please end this incident. This cruel, tragic, unfortunate, sad incident. Please end it. That's that is my only wish. I granted you one before, remember? You don't get any more. Mion firmly held the nail down on my fingertip. With her other hand, she slowly sprung a mallet up in the air and whack! Title card. We are officially done with chapter 2. 4 hour stream. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't care about any of that part. That is officially the end of. For those on YouTube, I do appreciate that you watched throughout the whole series. YouTube side, you're going to be seeing Cyberpunk 2077 starting from the beginning. Uh, After that, I don't know what you guys are really going to be seeing next. But if you did enjoy, do make sure you hit that like button and leave a comment below. If you want to see more of my future series, do make sure you hit that subscribe button. Anyway, this is PC Death here, and as always, hope you enjoyed. Keep playing on. See yas.